Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And we're going to be interviewing our friend Alex from
Everything Tesla.
next on Now You Know. Okay, I don't know if you saw it, but we were recently on Alex's show, Everything Tesla. He does this great 1-minute roundup of all the news, everything Tesla, in just 1 minute.
Right, so if you guys are kind of sick of us droning on and on about all of the different news, go over to Alex's channel, get it all done in 1 minute.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
All done.
It's really cool. Link below.
Yeah, we watch his videos all the time, so definitely go check his channel out.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I truly enjoy our conversation that we had on my channel. So now I'm here. It's my turn to answer your questions. I came prepared, so go ahead, shoot.
Now, the cool thing is that Alex is out on the West Coast. We are here on the East Coast. So we think he has a different perspective on things. And our first question for you, Alex, is you're seeing things on the West Coast, which, first of all, you're kind of ahead of us in terms of time. But also, I think you're ahead of us in terms of...
We're ahead of him in terms of time.
Oh, so we're ahead of you.
Yeah, we are in the future. But he is definitely seeing...
He's technologically in the future.
In the future. Being in Silicon Valley, that is sort of where the future spreads out from.
I mean, when we were out at the Fremont factory, there's just so many Teslas out there.
Absolutely.
And when you come back here to the East Coast, there's not so many Teslas over here. So our question to you, Alex, is do you think that you're truly seeing the future of electric cars, like that you're really ahead of us a year or two or three? How far ahead of us are you?
Right.
Well, it's an interesting question because, I mean, it's true I live about only, 10 miles away from the Tesla factory and only 5 miles away from Palo Alto, California, where they have the highest concentration of Tesla ownership. And it's true. I mean, because we have so many Teslas and Tesla owners, then it's no longer an exotic thing to have. They're everywhere. And I think the conversation has definitely moved one step forward because people now understand what these cars are all about. And I think somebody has a friend who has a Tesla and they've already piqued their brains. And overall, the level of education and knowledge about what electric cars are, what Teslas are in particular, are much higher than I'm assuming in the rest of the country and the rest of the world. But as far as living here near the factory, I don't think it gives me any more advantage than anybody else as far as maybe getting the news about what's happening there first. You know, I mean, first of all, Tesla does a great job of kind of being pretty transparent about what their plans are and about what their new innovations are. So you don't really have to, you know, climb their fence and peek into their windows to find out what's happening. But it's not like Elon Musk is hanging out over there at the front porch. So I think we're getting a lot of news here, only a few miles away from a factory, as fast as you guys get it over there on the East Coast, or anybody really with the internet connection out there in the world. But as far as, you know, being in the middle of this more of a normalized world of where electric cars now are sort of here to stay, it definitely takes the conversation to a next level because now it's sort of an accepted fact, accepted notion that this is the future and this is what it looks like.
So the Koch brothers are spending $10 million a year on negative PR for electric cars. And I mean, that's just the Koch brothers. That's not the rest of the oil industry combined.
Right. I mean, so what do you think, Alex? Do you think that we're past the point of no return, that it doesn't matter what these guys are doing? Or do you think they can actually slow or even stop or, I don't know, maybe reverse the progress that EVs are making?
You know, it's a loaded question. Can Tesla be stopped? I don't think so. I mean, I think Tesla has made so much progress and established itself as a major player in the car industry and in general as a corporation, as a company, that I don't think you can kill Tesla at this point. You know, maybe a few years ago when the Model S was starting out, there was, you know, some doubts and I could see how that could be reversed, but at this point I don't think so. But can it be slowed down? Absolutely, and I think it will. Let's not lie to ourselves. This current Trump administration will do a lot to slow Tesla and generally green energy and electric car movement down a lot, starting with the new head of the EPA. Now that's a whole different topic, and I really don't like talking politics, but unfortunately in this case politics and the new administration will definitely slow the progress of Tesla as a brand and electric car as a technology down. And you know, let's not forget that, you know, the car industry has been always against Tesla, and understandably so. And they have been trying to slow them down now for several years. Up until even now, Tesla has been having problems, legal problems, trying to expand their showrooms to in different states and so forth. Now they will probably win this battle, but it's a battle that slowed them down. This week they've announced that they're going to be getting into the insurance business. Guess what? Insurance industry is not going to take it laying down. They're definitely going to slow them down with different laws and regulations and many other things because it is an established industry and they don't want some new company coming in and probably changing rules on them like Tesla has done with the car industry. So definitely Tesla will be slowed down, especially in the next 4 years. But I think that's fine. I'm not worried about it. I think progress has always been slow whenever you're trying to implement a game changer, any kind of innovation. So I'm not worried about it. Obviously, I'm not happy about it, but I think Tesla will be fine. I think, especially with Model 3 launch, we will see what's really going to happen with the rest of the world, how they're going to react to this, and I think there's no stopping.
So Tesla doesn't advertise. That's the amazing thing, right? But Alex, we have a question for you.
If you were to be given a large budget to do a Tesla commercial, I don't know what it's for, that's up to you. But you have a large budget, who would you hire and what would you show off?
Yeah.
I absolutely love this question. And I think the answer actually is in the premise of your question, because you just mentioned Tesla doesn't advertise. Well, why is that? Well, because every single person who ever bought one or even seen one becomes such a fan that they just can't help themselves but to promote the brand and brag and rave about the product. And I think this is the best way to advertise. So if I was to make a commercial for Tesla, I wouldn't hire any celebrities. I wouldn't need a huge budget for a set or special effects. You know who I'll feature in that commercial? The very people who got this brand to where it is now, which is the customers, the people. I would feature the people who approach and learn the car for the very first time, and I would feature their genuine reaction and the surprise when they see this amazing innovation, this amazing features that this car has to offer. And I'm sure you've seen those videos already online where somebody experiences the acceleration of P100D and goes viral because it is such an amazing, genuine reaction of a person to an amazing technology. So when you asked that question, I really didn't need that much time to think about it, because just like I said, nothing better than moving the brand forward than the very customer base that they've created and that became fans of that brand. And I think that Tesla is a great example of that.
So there's a $7,500 tax credit you get when you buy an electric car, but later this year or next year when Tesla reaches its 200,000 limit and then it starts rolling off, less and less people will get that credit.
Right.
So our question for you, Alex,
is will people move over to a Chevy Bolt or other car manufacturers that have EVs but don't
have the credit?
They still will have the credit, or do you think that Tesla will keep going strong despite losing the tax incentive?
Yeah, how important is that credit to buyers, do you think, Alex?
Right.
Well, there's a reason why they call incentive an incentive, right? Incentive is something that you give to people to make their decisions easier to buy a product, right? Or take some sort of an action. And yeah, it's $7,500. It's a lot, especially when we're comparing it to the sticker price of $35,000 or $40,000. So yes, it's definitely going to be a big hit to the sort of sales strategy that Tesla had up until this point. On the other hand, I don't see people not buying a Model 3 because they don't have the $7,500 incentive versus going and buying Chevy Bolt because they do. I just don't think those are on the same level. Yes, they have the same range, but the range is kind of a thing is that if you don't have enough of it, like 200 plus, you're not even considered seriously as a car, right? So yes, okay, so Chevy Bolt is now being seriously considered as an electric car, but it is nothing compared to Model 3 features and almost everything else, or the supercharger network that Tesla has to offer and so many other things. So I don't think these are the two choices that people are going to be comparing when making that decision about incentive. I think people who are going to be considering Model 3 are going to be considering, hey, am I buying a BMW 3 Series or am I buying a Model 3? I think that's going to be a much more realistic scenario where people are going to be choosing between two cars. And as you know, BMW 3 Series does not have a $7,500 incentive either. So I think because that is more likely scenario that I think is going to take place rather than comparing and choosing between Model 3 and Chevy Bolt, I believe that the $7,500 incentive, as tough as it's going to be on Tesla sales, I believe, it's not going to play that big of a role when it comes to selling Model 3.
So I compare driving a Tesla a lot to watching HD TV for the first time.
Okay.
Because I think that the first time you saw HD, you were like, whoa. And then you watch a full football game or something, and then you couldn't go back. You went back to your house and you turned on the boing, and you're like.
But that's a good point, because I remember when I first heard about HD, I heard it from other people and I didn't see it, and I was like, that's a fad, that's a trend. I'm not going to go dumping my television for that, and I was way behind.
Right.
And I think of technology like of Teslas like cell phones. Like I did the same thing with cell phones. I wasn't an early adopter. I was probably a couple years behind people.
Right.
Alex, where do you think we are with the Tesla when you compare it to like HDTV and cell phones? Are we really at the beginning of that S curve? Are we further in? Like, where do you think we are?
No, I like the analogies, especially the cell phone one. I think that's probably the closest analogy I can think of to what's happening with Tesla. I'm assuming you're talking about the very first iPhone when it came out, and I do believe this is a very similar situation. However, with Tesla, there's a whole new level on top of that. This whole level of green energy movement and an entire industry, the fossil fuel industry, and the Republican Party, let's be honest, sort of pushing against it. Something that really didn't happen with an iPhone. There was no lobby against smartphones. So I think that layer is definitely kind of making it hard to think of the timeline, since you're asking about timing of everything. But with the above said, I think we're still in the very first stage if we were, again, to compare it to an iPhone. When iPhone came out, everybody who touched it thought this was the best thing ever, and they would never ever go back to a flip phone ever again, and that's what happened. But at that time, there just wasn't enough hands on the phone because it was too expensive, because there were only a limited quantity of that was being produced. So I think that's where we're at right now. I think in another year when Model 3 comes out, we're going to be at the next stage, again going back to an iPhone, where they made it more affordable, and they made they finally ramped up the production where a lot of people got their hands on it, not just in the United States and in China and Europe, and it was more of a common knowledge that this is a new era of cell phones, and a smartphone is the way to go. I think that's where we're going to be in about a year. And after that, the next stage is, of course, where the rest of the industry decides to try to catch up, like it happened with the BlackBerry and Android, that they kind of finally got their shit together and produced something very similar and better in some ways. And that's how this whole industry started to be pushed forward, when there's a competition and everyone's trying to create and produce at a much higher rate. So I think that would be the next step, when all the car manufacturers are trying to catch up to Tesla, and Tesla is being pushed to be better and faster by the competition. Again, I think the timeline will be skewed simply because of this extra complication of political and sometimes philosophical pushback by a lot of people in this country and the world. But as we talked in the previous question, I think Tesla will overcome this, and electric cars will be the winners after maybe in another 10 or 20 years. But certainly we're in the first stage. It's kind of exciting. I have to say, it's very exciting, but I can't wait for the next one, where people will start getting their hands on Model 3 and Tesla will become a household name at some point.
Alex, thank you so much for doing this East Coast, West Coast question and answer. It was so great to have you on the show.
It was so much fun. I mean, you're out on the West Coast. You're like 10 minutes from the Tesla factory.
Right.
And we're planning on going back out to the Tesla factory hopefully later this year. We're probably going to just hang out at your house when we're there. So get ready for us. So
Yeah.
Get the couch ready.
Get the spare room ready.
I mean, and the fact that you're so close to the factory, I don't know how you do it. If I was that close to the factory, I feel like I would just go hang out at the factory every day with binoculars and wait, stalk Elon.
Yeah.
So you must have amazing willpower to not do that and get like restraining orders against you.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I had a blast. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person when you're visiting here in Silicon Valley. I make no promises as far as the helping you out with the whole stalking Elon Musk deal. I've heard it's really hard to make videos out of the jail cell, so I might pass. Other than that, thanks for having me on, and remember to stay charged.
This is so much fun, Alex. Everybody, you have to go and check out Alex's show, Everything Tesla, because it's amazing. He compacts all of the news into 1 minute. His Facebook channels are amazing. Check those out below. Go over there and subscribe and like, because he's doing a lot of great things for Tesla.
All right, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Now you know.